You're listening to iH8Radio, where the hate is spelled with an 8. This is Rob Smittix. The song that you just heard, Thousand Pink Balloons by Brad Byrd, and so pleased to actually have Brad on the line right now. Brad, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
No, I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, you're obviously out on tour right now. I did want to find out, you got any crazy road stories from this tour now, or has it been kind of mellow and tame?
Honestly, there's always some crazy stories with us, When I say us, it's like usually my wife and I and our 2 dogs on the road, and a lot of the shows are me solo, but, band shows in certain cities and stuff. But, yeah, there's always something going on. There's always something kind of happening, and kind of, for the most part, it's been pretty civilized and smooth sailing. But there's like one situation that was pretty hysterical. Actually, was the show we did in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Somebody from the audience asked me to play Wonderwall.
Right, one of your greatest hits.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously it's like covered to death and stuff like that, but sometimes you can do it in a kind of a tasteful way, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. So I was in between songs, and I just kicked into it, and I was just like, yeah, I could play Wonderwall. I just kicked right into it and started playing it. And then the manager of the venue, it was like some bar restaurant place, and the manager of the venue, like, I look up and I'm just playing the song, and the manager's he's like giving me the finger, and I'm like, and at first I kind of chuckled because I thought he was kidding around, like, oh dude, you're playing Wonderwall, and but then I realized he wasn't kidding.
Wow.
and I was just like, and then I see him like going over to the bar staff and this other dude that booked me for the show, and to my wife who's over sitting by the merch table, and I see him from the stage like yelling at them, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, so I kind of slowed the song down and was finger picking it a little bit, and just kind of trailing off of it, and I was just like, okay, that was weird. And then I see my buddy who booked the show being like, dude, in the back kitchen right now, giving this guy some shit. And I was like, oh Jesus, here we go. And then my wife walks up to me, Marnie, and she's just like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, dude, I don't know, somebody asked me to play Wonderwall. I just kicked into Wonderwall. And she's like, this guy's freaking the fuck out. And I'm like,
man,
this is crazy, right? So she goes back there, and all you hear is yelling. You can hear a pin drop in the venue, and you hear people yelling and screaming in the back kitchen. I swear to God, you cannot make this shit up. This is the kind of shit that happened.
Wow.
You asked for a crazy story, you're gonna get a crazy story. So I'm standing there on stage, everyone's just looking at me, including all the bartenders, and they're all looking at me going, dude, this never has happened before. I don't know what the hell's going on, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just hang out here until the smoke clears, right? And I'm kind of making a couple of jokes and shit, and I hear yelling going on. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back there and see what's going on, So I go back there, and things had simmered down, and I just walked back there to the manager. I'm like, dude, I get it. I played Wonderwall. I wasn't gonna play this on my own,
Right, right.
So I go, dude, give me a hug, man. Give me a hug. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. And tried to make light of it. And the manager was some younger, I think he was 29 years old or something. And he's like, dude, I'm so sorry, man. That song just really triggers some terrible memories from college. And I'm like, what? And I was like, dude, I get it, man.
That's all it was?
Yeah, and he's like, I'm sorry, man. I've had a long day. I've been here since 6 a.m. It was totally not cool to give you the finger and shit and make a whole big deal about it. I'm like, dude, somebody asked me to play it. I just kicked into it. I wasn't even planning on playing it. It's all fucking good. And at the time, I just wanted to play anyway. So I was like,
right.
Should I keep playing, dude, or what? Or should we pack this thing up? He says, no, keep playing. It's my bad. And then he, like apologized profusely like 67 times throughout the rest of the night. But it was just like this super bizarre, crazy, weird thing that happened.
That is totally bizarre.
Yeah, and I was like 5 songs into the set. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
5 songs into a show, and there's like a fucking full-on brawl.
I mean, the only thing, I was thinking like, oh man, maybe he didn't pay his ASCAP BMI fees, and he couldn't couldn't have any cover songs or something.
I know, and it was just like, dude, I guess he said something like, is he gonna play fucking Wagon Wheel next?
Oh,
and my buddy's like, dude, this guy's like on tour promoting a new record from LA. Like, why are you tripping out? Somebody asked him to play the song, he just kicked into it, and like, whatever,
Right, yeah, so, he did it on the fly. That's a hilarious story.
Yeah, like I wanted to show him like how quickly I could play the song. Like he asked for it, and like he goes, play Wonderwall, and like within 10 seconds I started playing the song. And I was just like, oh, that was, but I thought he was serious. Like I thought he wanted to hear Wonderwall. And like I don't know, sometimes like people love to hear that song, and some people do not want to ever hear that song.
Right.
And and I don't play a ton of covers, but I mean I definitely know a bunch of them. So it's like, I don't know. So it was just a weird thing that happened, but it was all good in the end. Everybody hugged it out, and it was cool. So,
yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than the someone always yells Slayer or Skinner. So I mean, Wonderwall.
Yeah, you're always gonna get. I mean, Wonderwall is acceptable. Some of this other stuff, I'm just like, it's like a joke. It's a joke. You're not gonna play it. But I mean, Wonderwall is like kind of on the fence. You're like, hey,
right.
maybe I should play this one. So,
no,
that
funny.
was something that was weird that came to be. But I mean, there's always stuff, especially when you play in bars and stuff. It's like you're trying to settle up with people.
Sure.
You just don't want to be harassed. You just don't want to be like fucked over with the money, and you just don't want to like have to deal with the bullshit. And some of these people, like, you're gonna deal with some bullshit, and it's like, but I mean, so far, aside from that, everything's been pretty smooth sailing. Like, people have been all super nice and cool. So
yeah, you're based out of Los Angeles now, but there was a time when you were actually based out of New York, I believe, right? And you're from Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm from the North Shore of Massachusetts, and then I went to Syracuse University to college, and then right after college I moved to Manhattan, and kind of grew up in my 20s in New York City. And then I was like 28, I moved to LA.
I've been talking to a lot of artists out in LA, and kind of got like a weird vibe, like it's kind of hit or miss out there. I mean, how do you think the scene is, in comparison to places like New York, or even, I don't know if you've been down in Nashville, but I imagine it's quite a bit different.
I mean, I hear like there is like a scene in Nashville, like maybe that's the only one left, because everywhere I go, it doesn't really seem like technology and the super saturation of a zillion bands, has kind of eviscerated a scene, as far as I can see. Like I think there's always been like a punk rock scene that's underground a bit, but as far as like a scene, there used to be a scene at the Hotel Cafe in Los Angeles where all the singer-songwriters played, and that was about 10 years ago,
Yeah.
That I was, had like one foot in a little bit, and but since then I heard it's kind of unraveled a bit. I mean, if there's a scene somewhere, I don't really know where it is,
Right.
I'm all over the place, and I'm definitely trying to find it. But I hear this like East Nashville scene is kind of happening, but and I'm looking forward to trying to. I'll be spending a little bit of time there, in early September, when I'm down there doing the show on September 6th at the 5 spot, which is in East Nashville. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think the scene is like, I'm always saying that too in LA. Like, what happened? Like, who's starting up the scene, man? Like, back in the day, like at the Troubadour, with like Lennon, and everybody's just like hanging out there, and it's just like a scene, and that's where you want to be. But unfortunately, man, I'm not aware of it. If there is one, I'm not aware of it. It's kind of sad, actually. It's kind of like everyone's just kind of doing their thing, trying to get by and just get their stuff out there a bit, So.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think things have definitely changed, and like you said, technology, and I think it's really what people are, exposed to. I remember seeing one of my favorite musicians and seeing like a, pretty decently attended show, but then at like the strike of midnight, Dance Party USA started, and oh my God, the place filled up, and everyone just wanted to hear some, stuff that you can hear on the radio every single day.
Right. Yeah, the whole DJ culture, people don't want to deal with like, some people are totally all about it. Like, yeah, man, go in the corner with your acoustic guitar, and do the original thing. But a lot of people want to hear covers, and sometimes they don't want to hear somebody doing it badly with like some loud, tinny acoustic guitar. They're like, fuck it, let's just fucking get a DJ, just spin some tunes and save $300.
Yeah, it's
so it's like a lot of times it's moving in that direction, but it all depends on where it is. And but I still think there's a pulse out there, from people that I talk to. They say the live music business is better than it's ever been, So everything has moved to the live music scene, just because that's just where, really where the rubber meets the road as far as like engaging with people and really having that human connection. It happens when you're out there live.
I created the hashtag a while ago, God Save the Scene. I should probably bring that one back and link this conversation to it.
Yeah, I guess the scene has gone, it's gone mobile. The scene has gone mobile, the scene has gone online, the scene has gone to Facebook and Instagram, and it's like, everybody's kind of, hovering around. That's what the scene is.
Yeah.
The scene isn't even physical. It's not even human. It's not physical. It's like, it's online.
The virtual scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where's it all going? Is it, what's it going to be like in 30 years? Is it just going to be this like,
one of the things that drives me, crazy about it is this whole ranking system. If you don't have a certain amount of likes or a certain amount of views or followers or subscribers, you must not be as good as the other guy who's got a million of them. And that just really is
that is the number one issue, man. You just nailed it. That is the number one issue, I think, and the number one problem with a lot of stuff that's going on, because people look at the numbers. They don't even listen to you or even think about you in any way. They look at the numbers and they judge you, and it's like, and if the number and the numbers are manipulated. Let's face the fact, everybody's going to figure out a way to goose the numbers or do whatever they can to and then you're like, well, if everybody else is doing it, I should be doing it. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes this manipulated game of like trying to boost this and tweak this and manipulate that, and unfortunately everybody who's a gatekeeper, quote unquote, in this business is looking at the numbers immediately, and they're not, and they're going to listen to your music with a totally different judgmental view. If and then of course subsequently, if you've got a shit ton of likes, they're going to be like, ooh, this is going to be good. And it's just, unfortunately, it's not like, it's the quantity versus quality. Like, it's not, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Maybe there is some truth to it. There's got to be, you got to be doing some right, I guess, if you got 50,000 likes on your fan page. But, I don't know, man. But at the end of the day, though, I think everybody is humans. Like, we all listen to music, and we all, I think, in general, you don't even have to be a music person per se, but I think everybody can listen to a song and be like, this is good.
Right. Right.
Or,
exactly.
This isn't that great. You don't even have to be in the music business to be able to listen to a song and be like, this is good. I feel like too much stuff out there that is good doesn't have the same amount of like social media stats next to it, and unfortunately it just gets swept under the rug and overlooked. And it's been a huge problem for me. I've always been trying to get the numbers up, and I guess it's just like, I don't know, man, maybe the music isn't good enough, but a lot of people tell me otherwise. I hear it almost daily, like, dude, why aren't you bigger than you are? Your music's great, I listen to you all the time, along with some of my favorite artists, blah blah blah. And why don't you have 50,000 likes? And I'm honestly like, I have no fucking idea.
a lot of these groups are paying for it. There's definitely features out there that you probably noticed, and
Yeah.
Facebook is not giving everything to the people that are already fans on there unless you pay for it and boost it. So it's not just the numbers game, but it's a numbers game that's
Yeah.
driven by the almighty dollar, and it's sad.
Yeah. Well, it all started back with MySpace. Everybody was trying to goose those numbers and manipulate those numbers, and then it kind of went from there.
Yeah.
And then MySpace faded away, and now it's just been Facebook and SoundCloud, and now it's Spotify. And
Yep.
I'm sure people have already figured out a way to like manipulate the numbers in Spotify. I don't know, but
I'm sure.
I think we're moving towards something more fair and something more transparent. But just because just because McDonald's has served 1 billion people, you know what I'm saying? It's just
exactly.
If your music has 1 billion views, then maybe it's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great analogy.
And it's like the more boutique stuff that's a little more exclusive, yeah, it's not going to have that many views and consumptions, you know what I'm saying? But it might actually be a higher quality thing, and
right.
maybe there's something to be said about that. So I think we're starting to come out of that stage where I think people are starting to look at the numbers and not put so much weight on it anymore. At least I hope.
Yeah.
Because
you and me
I don't
both.
feel like it's fair. And I think that's the main problem with the entire industry, is that everybody is fixated on the numbers.
Yeah.
And
no, it's true.
and they're not listening. They're not listening to the music,
Yeah, it's sad but true. Now I know you recently, a couple months ago, put out the new album Highest Mountain, and
Yeah.
it's been like 6 years or so since you put out like a full length release. And I know this one, it's been said it's like a self-discovery. You're talking about battling addiction, and give us a little bit of background about the album, and what went behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's officially like my third full length record, and I was starting to get into the whole thing of dropping singles, and I was going to do an EP, and then a lot of people told me that you got to do a full length record, and that's what is going to get you more press if you do a full length record and dropping singles in an EP. And I'm not sure if that's totally valid or not, but I ended up just going that route ultimately. Yeah, it was it takes a little bit of time. I was in LA from like 2001 to 2005, and to make my first record. And at the time, I was caught up in whatever was scene there was. It was Hollywood, man. It was just like,
yeah.
And it's not even blaming the scene, really. I mean, I've been like, drinking and drugging a lot more over the years. Like there's college, and it's like, yeah, there's a crazy party going on all the time. But then you get out of college, and it's like, some people settle down and like get jobs and have kids and like slow down or something. I just kind of kept going, but I was always like working and figuring out ways to make money, but I don't know, it just kind of got progressively more and more and more and more. And then, I'm out in LA, and I'm like, it's Sunday night, and you're wasted hanging out in the scene, and you're going to meet somebody that's going to help your career, and blah, blah, blah. And it's very easy to get caught up in that, at least it was for me at that time in the world that I was in. And then you surround a lot of people that are in that same headspace, that are drinking and drugging, that are in the music scene. And I was kind of attracting a lot of those types of people, and it just kind of was getting a little bit out of control. And I just had to get out of LA, I had to get out of there. And, so I ended up going to a buddy's wedding in New York City, and then my parents at the time lived in Rockport, Massachusetts, which is like super quiet, like fishing town, like an hour north of Boston. And like my parents were like, why don't you just stay here for a while? I seriously, man, I needed to dry out.
Yeah.
And like I needed to just stop. I needed to get off this like merry-go-round of insanity that I was in LA at the time. And So, it was very difficult. It was a long, crazy period of time to really kind of like stay sober. To get sober and to get sober was hard, and then to stay sober was even harder.
No, I can only
And
imagine.
Relapses, and then getting sober for a little bit, and then relapsing and realizing, this isn't something that I can do like a normal person. Normal people can have a couple of drinks or smoke a joint and not have it turn into, blackouts and like wake and bakes and
Right. Right.
So some people can drink and drug or whatever and keep it together, and other people not so much. And I'm one of those people that it just never really, it got to a point where it wasn't working for me anymore, and I realized I had to stay on the straight and narrow. And like, so I ended up living in this small town called Rockport, Massachusetts for like 7 years to really get sober and stay sober. And like, I wrote a ton of songs in that time, and this record is really just like the tip of the iceberg of the material that I wrote during that time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good batch of songs that really kind of like talk about, it's almost like a love affair that I had with a substance that I didn't even know I had,
Right.
that I, and it was also like battling my ego and like letting go of a lot of things, and like just really kind of getting spiritual and more centered, and like, not to get too like Buddhist on you, but just kind of, it was really just kind of like really getting healthy.
Yeah.
Like mentally, physically, spiritually. Like I wasn't in a good place. Things had gone off the rails for a while, and I'm really kind of glad that I didn't get that big major label deal back then in LA, which a lot of people, were saying that, that was going to happen or something, or maybe I thought they said that, but it definitely seemed like that was a thing. And I'm glad it didn't happen, because I'm not sure I'd be here today if it did happen. And it's like,
I
I've
commend
never
you,
really
man.
said this before.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually even said this before, like publicly like this in an interview, but like I don't think I'd be here today had it all like blown up. You know what I'm saying? And instead,
Right.
the major label deal didn't happen. An indie label deal did happen with not a lot of marketing and not a huge push. And and if you don't have a ton of money behind you, you're not going to make a big dent in this American society. Period.
Period.
So,
Yep.
doesn't matter if if you put out fucking Rubber Soul. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needs a push. And
Right.
so but anyways, so that's what this whole record's really about. Like, Highest Mountain was just like, it's about this huge gigantic hurdle of me kind of like saving my own life and getting sober, and getting
Right.
out of the scene of New York City and Los Angeles, and just kind of like realizing that like I had to get out of there, but then even further realizing it wasn't really LA or New York, because now I'm back in LA, and I'm, there's amazing sobriety, and there's amazing people,
Sure.
they were always there, it wasn't, you want to put blame and say, oh, it was Hollywood, it was a crazy music scene, but really, this is something that can happen in fucking, Boise, Idaho. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. No, you're right.
What the scene, it can go down anywhere. So it's really a big part of what the record's about.
Well, I'm really glad you made it through, man, because I'm glad to be listening to this record here today. And time does fly pretty quick. We're pretty much gonna have to wrap it up here. But before we go,
yeah, sure.
I mean, it's been a pleasure, and always do feel free, man, to get in touch with us at any time. Got any new music or anything? Totally want to know about it.
Yeah.
We do premieres here, man, exclusively, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, any song that you want, man, pick it out, play it, and maybe tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. I think you just played Thousand Big Balloons.
Mm-hmm.
And another song called Cylinder, which is the third song on the record. It's getting some love on Spotify right now, and it really does it's almost like you're in that headspace of somebody who's trying to almost kind of get out of this rut of getting sober and then go relapsing and stuff like that, and you're kind of in this cylinder, you're in this circle, you know.
Yeah, man.
And that's, you know, that's kind of like what, you know, the song is about. It's just it's kind of getting stuck in almost like a, you know, washing machine, you know.
Yeah.
Or something, you know, and you know, and then but ultimately trying to break through and come out of it. And, you know, in the end, you know, it kind of has a hopeful ending, sort of, kind of, you know, but it's just, I don't know. You get it if you have that in mind when you listen to the song, you know. But yeah, hoping to keep. I might put out some more EPs in the coming years, and just keep feeding, you know, the listeners some new music. So, but I will totally be in touch again, man. When I put out something new. Man, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate it. Brad Byrd, everybody, right here on iH8Radio.